Welcome, everyone, to Beauty and the Surgeon podcast. I'm Amy. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm joined today, as always, by my fantastic co-host, Dr. Jason Martin. He's a board-certified plastic and reconstructive surgeon.
Yeah, that's me, Amy.
Dr. Martin, how are you doing today?
I'm pretty good.
You feeling the love? Was Cupid good to you?
Yeah, very good to me.
Yeah?
I can't even go into how many things we did on
just feeling the love.
Oh, just feel it. It's huge.
Well, welcome, everyone, to the podcast. If you are listening to the podcast and you would like to watch us, you can find us on YouTube at Jason Martin MD. We have quite a few new subscribers, so it's the kind of beginning of 2024. I really appreciate people subscribing. If you want to do us a huge favor, you can like us and share us with a friend, or leave us a rating on whatever podcast app you're listening on. We would really appreciate it. So without further ado, Dr. Martin, it is, 6 weeks into the new year.
Oh, yeah.
It is February.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leap year. So we get 366 days this year to make a difference. We are talking about your best summer body, and it might seem like, why would we talk about your best summer body in February?
I need it now rather than later.
Well, there are a lot of reasons, and I always say, in addition to, abs being made in the kitchen, summer bodies are made in the winter. And there are a number of reasons for that. Dr. Martin, what are these? This first one right here.
Scheduling?
Yeah.
Did you put that on there to troll me because you know that I'm terrible at scheduling?
Well, no, you don't do your own scheduling. And that's what I think is so funny when people ask you about the schedule, like, you know what your schedule is going to be like.
I have no idea.
Scheduling is a big one. You start thinking this time of year, you had a great resolution. It's still going strong. And about March 15th, a month from now, you're going to realize that you have spring break in a month and, oh, shoot, I need to look good right now. But you have missed the scheduling opportunity. So it is February. If you're thinking about having anything done before summer, now is the time.
I know.
Do not wait. Also, downtime. Way easier to have when you are covered up. So winter is an ideal time to recover. We had an episode. Oh my gosh, it's so old. There is no ding ding for this one because it is an audio only episode where we talked about surgeries you can do in the summer.
I have no memory of this.
Yeah, we talked about, ultimately.
Like how, was it one of the first ones?
Oh, I think it might have been like in the tens. This might have been a single digit episode.
Is this when I was obese?
This was no video, so who knows? Yeah. There was no video. And one of the things we talked about that's challenging with summer surgeries is the downtime, right? Nobody wants to have downtime in the summer. People love to swim, Dr. Martin. So
here we go.
Doing surgery in the winter gives you the benefit of having a potentially even less complicated recovery. We had a question from listeners asking if there were certain surgeries that should be done at certain times of year. And we definitely talked about how things like a brachioplasty, where you can't wear deodorant for several weeks, might be better in the winter. Something like a thigh lift where you are
extremities.
Yeah, way better in the winter. And, if you do surgery in the winter, by the time summer gets here, you're going to feel super confident and feel like yourself again. Your recovery will be behind you.
Right. Because, one of the things with surgeries, which we talk about all the time, is that surgeries create swelling. That's inevitable.
Injury.
And that swelling can last for months. Even something as simple as a rhinoplasty or a nose job, obviously that's on the face, but that swelling can last 6 months. Breast augmentation, 6 months, 8 months. So getting it done earlier rather than later makes the biggest difference. I think it's very funny you were talking about to be ready for March because we are going away in March.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm ready.
Right. Oh, you missed your chance. The schedule is full.
Oh, I can't operate on myself?
Yeah. This time it is unfortunate, and I always prepare, my assistant or the front desk person for this because we get a lot of calls in March where people are like, well, I want to have surgery before the end of the month.
Right.
And we're booking consults at that point in June. That's where we're scheduling consultations, let alone surgery. So now is the time. And I don't want to double down on this too much, but let's talk a little bit about resolutions, stress.
Oh, gosh.
And the ever questionable giving up, which is not as negative as it sounds. So, Dr. Martin, how many people do you think set resolutions every year? Like what percentage of the U.S. population have a New Year's resolution?
I feel like you think it's like 80%, but it has to be some less than 50. So I'm going to say 25 to 30%, like a third.
Yeah, it's 38.5 is the average.
Very close.
Do you do New Year's resolutions?
I used to, and I felt like they were kind of shallow.
Yeah.
But, now that we do more year-round training, we have a coach. I kind of do it with the coach, but it's just reinvigorating what I'm already doing. So.
Well, to me, there's a difference between like setting out kind of a plan for the year versus a New Year's resolution.
Yeah, I don't really do resolutions.
What about you, Nils? New Year's resolution guy?
No, more like, what can I improve the year? Kind of lifestyle change plan type stuff. Like this could be a little more, this could be a little less, stuff like that. But I don't. And I try and think about that stuff in December.
Right.
Because if I just do it in January, it's too much stress to be like January 1st, this all, so trying to ease into it.
And Amy knows this, like when it comes to important things, I do it right away. But the stuff that's kind of superfluous, I put it off in the future, which she hates. And definitely resolutions to me are kind of extra, so like I'm always pushing them down the
it becomes a procrastination thing with me too.
Right.
If like everyone's resolutions are, a lot of them tend to be nutritional and working out and stuff like that, which Amy and I already do. So my resolution would be to have a better personality, which is just not going to happen.
I mean, you got to have smart goals, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that does bring up, I have like a few more interesting I can't with the words, interesting statistics.
Interesting.
What's
the other word you said?
Statistics.
Oh, okay.
Interesting statistics. I got it right that time. 48% of people wanted to exercise more, so that was the most popular New Year's resolution. But all three of the top three are all health related. How many people do you think quit in the first week? So by January 7th, their goal is done.
I don't think it's a lot. I'd say it's less than 20%.
Is 23%.
Yeah.
So 23% make it to January 7th.
I really know people. I'm like a sociologist or something.
Yeah. How many make
Anthropologist.
So how many make it to, like, let's say now, like past the first month?
Oh, not many. I want to say, I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm going to say less than 20%. Like, so 80% quit before now.
Well, so 36% make it past the first month, but you have to take into account that 23% already quit.
Oh, so yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of right there. Okay. And then like the final one, how many people do you think actually keep their New Year's resolution
Like
percentage
minimal.
wise?
Yeah. 5%, 6%, 7%, something around there.
It's actually 9, which I was actually kind of surprised by it was that high. Right?
That's one of those questionnaires.
Well, but I mean,
are you still doing you're doing your New Year's resolution? Of course I am.
I mean, if your New Year's resolution was a short-term goal, like, I mean, you could have been done with it already. Right? I mean, there might be some of these people completed their New Year's resolution or kept it, So
when we talked to Ryan Doris, which he can show you right here, it's actually a really interesting episode. We talked about Maslow's triangle, and we talked about trying to make, it wasn't resolutions, but, a plan that's achievable, and to really break those down into smaller parts. And that was his big thing. It was day to day for him, actually.
Right. Behavior change takes time. Absolutely. So I think a lot of people, one of the reasons probably why they quit their New Year's resolution is stress, right? Like it stresses them out, so they stop. Well, stress in general can have a pretty big impact on your well-being. If you have a very negative body image, that's a big stress. I mean, you may not even think about it. Like the words we say to ourselves inside our own mind have meaning to ourselves because we are in control of our own, our perception is our reality. So a lot of negative body talk can definitely impact our well-being and cause a lot of stress. Setting unrealistic goals and deadlines, very stressful.
Oh, yeah.
That's hugely stressful. And then also hiding your body can rob you of experiences and cause stress. If you are wanting to, cover up and your family wants to go to a beach vacation, like that's going to stress you out. It's going to make them feel bad. Like everybody feels bad. So there's a lot of things that have to do with getting your summer body in the winter that can produce a lot of stress. So if you know that that is your cycle and it is now February, might be time to start thinking about how you could maybe get yourself out of that cycle. And I'm not saying it has to be surgery. If you want to know my thoughts about does surgery give you your perfect body, go back and listen to the episode of Amy by herself, Amy and Nils holding down the podcast where I talk about that because surgery may not be the answer.
Where was I during this episode? Oh, my bobblehead was here.
Yeah, your bobblehead was here. And Lexi came and filled in. But, this doesn't mean that, like I'm saying, surgery is the answer to your resolution. It might not be, but this is the time to start thinking about these things before that stress gets to you, before your vacation is a week away.
Right.
Like think about it now or before the pool opens at the end of May, like start thinking about those things now and give yourself some time and grace to deal with some of these issues so it's not stressing you out.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it is making sure that you understand it's not going to be perfect. And I think that's the real hard part about resolutions is because they're a lot of times black and white. There's no built-in wiggle room there. There's no flexibility. You already feel pretty bad. And this is a common theme we see in our office when we talk to our patients that come in. It's a human condition, this life part and having frustrations with your body and your health. So I think building in that flexibility is really important. And it's hard to be flexible when you feel like you have to change something in 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah. When you need to have lipo 6 weeks ago because your vacation is tomorrow.
Right.
So does surgery mean you're giving up? It doesn't. Or cheating. That's the other one we get a lot of. That means you're like trying to cheat the system by having surgery. There is no amount of exercise that's going to reverse or stop aging. So sometimes more exercise is actually not the answer to helping you get what you need as far as your aging or body goals go. Getting help for something that bothers you is absolutely okay. You are not being selfish. Your children will still love you. Your spouse doesn't care, most likely.
Probably doesn't care.
Yeah, the people in your life want you to be happy. So getting help for something that you have, diligently put effort into or that you cannot do anything about, you can't stop your facial aging. If you need a facelift, you need a facelift. Surgery is not the end. Life keeps going on. I always say having surgery is just part of your story. And it's ultimately probably not even a very meaningful one at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's not very big. That's the conversation we have a lot with people too.
Or it's huge, but either way, your life keeps going.
I think overall, in the overall narrative of people's lives, surgery is just a very small part. But it does have these secondary effects that we've talked about before, this butterfly effect of self-perception and confidence.
It's like a snowball.
And checking a box and doing something in your life that's for yourself. And that's like the main thing that we talk about with everyone is when you think about doing something for yourself, like surgery, to have a summer body that you want, sign me up, please. But Amy says I can't do it because it's too close to my spring break. That's unfortunate. But the whole meaning, the meaningfulness of it does not really come from what you think it comes from, that you're going to get affirmation from other people. They're going to look at you and say, you're look so amazing. It actually comes from something inside, which is really kind of meta if you think about it, because you're changing your outside to in some way affect your insides.
Yes. However, I think a lot of people think that that's what will happen. And we talk about this in our episode about whether or not plastic surgery makes you happy. That's not necessarily the case. So that's what my point being with life goes on. Like having surgery is just part of it. But if it's a part of it that can help you get out of a negative self loop with yourself or relieve some stress on you in general, like do it and move on.
Yeah, but that's internal. That's my point. I mean, it's an internal process.
It is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean it
with external cues.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Are we in agreement on that or no?
I think we're just saying the same thing in a different way.
Welcome to our lives, Amy and I.
Are we in agreement on that?
There is literally.
Are we having crystal clear communication
Amy
right
and I
now?
talk all the time. We have like full-on conversations, and sometimes we have to restate what we just said but then we usually think about things almost exactly the same, which is weird.
We realize we're saying the same thing. Well, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about how you can actually start getting your best summer body right now.
I'm ready.
All right, we're back. So let's talk about the procedures that you should consider now in February to have your best summer body.
Yeah.
Dr. Warren, let's just say what the 4 categories have, and then we'll kind of deep dive them.
Okay. The 4 she has is liposuction. That's a given. Breast augmentation, obviously, especially for post-pregnancy women. Tummy tuck, thigh lift, brachioplasty, any kind of larger body contouring procedure. And then for people that are a little bit older or aging, face and neck lift is like huge, and people don't consider that part of their body, but that's the part that everyone sees. So
yeah, well, that's the part that's kind of on display in pictures. I mean,
you can't hide that.
No, I mean that's a lot of what
summer.
People have in the summer is weddings and other events where there's going to be a lot of photographs, graduation parties. Those are where your picture is going to be taken. I mean, you can cover up something you don't like on your body, but it's pretty much impossible to cover up something you don't like on your face without looking like a weirdo beekeeper at your daughter's graduation party. Like that's not so much the look. So we have deep dive episodes where we talk about who is a candidate for all these procedures. So that's not the point of what we're talking about here. Like we're really talking about why these procedures specifically are benefited by doing them at this time of year, like in the winter. So liposuction specifically, I put that as number 1 because people tend to think that they can have lipo, right? And then a week later be in a bikini on a beach.
Well, that's what the commercials say for Sonobello, Amy. So it's not true.
That is not true. We have some great episodes where we talk about the myths of liposuction, and bruising and swelling and a longer recovery are definitely things that are absolutely true about liposuction. The recovery is relatively long as far as your ability to be exposing the areas of surgery confidently.
To be bathing suit ready.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while.
Yeah.
Months.
It could be 6 months, before you really feel confident. And that's on the very first slide where I put, that by summer you feel confident in your new body, because you can have these procedures done and still feel kind of weird. And that's especially true with facelifts. Like people can kind of feel like even though they don't look weird, they feel weird about how they, feel. Liposuction especially, you might have intermittent swelling, that kind of comes and goes. And giving that enough time to completely resolve before you are going to be, wanting to show it off might be several months. Also, you're going to be wearing a garment for several weeks. Garments in the summer when it is 100 degrees outside,
Oh, give me a break.
like not a lot of fun.
They're thick too.
They're thick. Well, they're compression. I mean,
What's the story we always tell about the patient that came in like 3 years later still wearing her garment? You said she was a triathlete or something.
yeah,
like
she was
that?
getting ready for an Ironman. She was an Ironman triathlete, and she actually had me order her a garment after surgery,
This is
and
so
I
crazy.
ordered it because I'm like, whatever. She
They're
wanted
not
one that
that
was
comfortable.
They are super comfortable
Please.
as far as compression goes.
Yeah.
I mean, for an athlete, like they're far more comfortable
Oh,
than
you
like
mean after working out hard? Okay,
Yes.
I guess I get that part.
yeah. So she would put it on after her hard workouts to help with swelling. When you do these like brick workouts that are 7, 6, 8 hours, you put that on after. She'd sleep in it, and then the next morning have a lot less inflammation.
Right.
So your garment can be a benefit to you, but that was also in Aspen, where the high temperature in the winter or in the summer would be 90 degrees, and it was still like 0% humidity. So little different story if you're recovering from liposuction in a very warm, humid place in the middle of summer, having to wear a garment and then all your other clothes on top of it. Like, doesn't that sound like a great time?
No, it doesn't.
No. So, Dr. Warren, I'll let you talk about why breast augmentation is good in the winter.
Breast augmentation, there's multiple things with this. Number one, you definitely have swelling after breast augmentation. This is a common theme with all these surgeries. And the swelling usually is the upper part of the breast. So you're going to want to give yourself a few months before you want to really reveal your décolletage area.
Or have your wedding dress fitted.
Oh, yeah.
Or your
By the way,
bridesmaid dress
our wedding
fitted.
rule is, what is it?
6 months.
6 months.
6
yeah.
months.
Okay.
6 months for a wedding,
Yeah.
especially for the bride.
And then for like the non-brides, it's like 3.
At least 3.
At least 3 for the moms. That's it's non-wavering. Like it's non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And they try to negotiate with us. I just tell them, no, I'm not doing that. So, also, I think the other part of this, and Amy has this on the slide, so if you're looking on YouTube, it's the use of your arms. I mean, summer, at least we're looking through the prism of Colorado people, but summer is about doing activities and being outside, being at the beach, being in the mountains, etc. And after breast
Lugging around a suitcase.
yeah, exactly, traveling. After breast augmentation, you really have to have limited usage of your upper extremities for about 4 weeks. And we have a really good episode on breast augmentation. Nils, you can pick whatever.
we have many.
Just pick one, Nils. Yeah.
We should actually make a playlist with just the breast aug, because there are so many, and just to make it easier for people to find them.
The other one is exercise, and that's a big thing for breast augmentation. So obviously, to get your best summer body, it's going to involve exercise in some ways, and you're going to probably not be exercising for at least 4 weeks after surgery too. So that's going to put you back a little bit. So it would be good to get the breast aug done, preferably in the fall time or winter time, and then give yourself 3 to 4 months for recovery.
Yeah. Yep. And again, it's just these things that, make you feel good about showing off your results. You want to make sure you're like ready to go for that first day at the
Do
pool.
you think people do like the grand reveal? They invite.
Oh,
their
I
friends
know they
over?
do. I
Really?
hear them talk about it. Yes.
I
People
would-
talk about that all the
That's
time.
so not in my
Yep.
headspace. Would you do that, Nils?
What's that?
Do the grand reveal of your surgery after it's done?
Oh, like a swan episode.
Yeah, like a
or
swan
something?
episode. Yeah, come
What
down,
about, like, well,
come down the staircase.
Think about it like
dress?
what about like a brand new tattoo? Would you have like your friends over to show them like a super meaningful tattoo?
I don't think I would do that either.
I don't know. I'm getting one in 2 weeks.
Yes.
Oh, we'll see.
I've heard it. Yeah.
Make sure you don't do it yourself. It doesn't look like a prison tattoo
There we
like the
go,
other
yeah.
ones you have.
It'll be my first non-prison tattoo. I'm very excited.
Yeah. All right. Let's
I
talk.
could have the listeners and viewers approve the artwork for your tattoo before.
No, this is a meaningful one. It's already planned.
Yeah. My nephew and I are getting the same tattoo.
Oh,
at the
that's
same
cool.
time. Yeah,
That's cool.
so it's a bonding experience.
I got you.
We're excited.
Yeah. So some people do that. They do bonding surgeries. Yeah. We have friends, sisters, husbands and wives. So we covered the big surgeries. I'm going to call these the big surgeries. So these are the big body surgeries: tummy tuck, thigh lift, brachioplasty. These all have kind of specific reasons why doing them in the winter when it's cold outside is going to be way easier, whether that's from a hygiene and like comfort standpoint with a thigh lift and a brachioplasty where you aren't wearing deodorant for several weeks, or just from the length of time it takes to heal and recover. On our episode about abdominoplasty, we talk about swell hell. And swell hell is real. Like you can have, just like with liposuction, this intermittent swelling that happens on the abdominal wall for months after surgery. Also,
Amy acts like she came up with the term swell hell. We heard it from a Facebook.
yeah, no,
group
it was
lady.
not
a-
us.
It was one of our
It was
listeners.
a patient. Yeah, a listener.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. I'm going to let you cover this one.
Sun exposure on scars.
Yes. I mean, these are surgeries that have lengthy scars.
Yeah, especially on the arms and legs too.
Mhm.
So
And on the abdomen.
yeah,
But what happens when sun hits a scar?
it's not good. UV rays A and B really affect scar formation, and make it a lot worse. So it's really important you keep your scars covered for at least 6 to 12 months after surgery, and actually preferably forever. But, so that scar matures and doesn't heal problematically.
Yeah. And you kind of think about it this way: in your body, it can do a lot of things at once, but it also has to prioritize what is the most important thing. And if you have direct sun exposure on your skin, it's, using things to kind of block the negative or the harmful rays from getting in. Now, if you also are hitting that area that is also trying to heal, your scar is trying to remodel itself. What do you think is more important to your body? Well, of course, it's stopping the assault of the sun rays versus trying to make the scar look really nice.
Right.
So that can lead to increased pigmentation. It can just cause issues with the scar healing in general. And depending on what type of surgery you had, your doctor may not want you to put sunscreen directly over that incision for maybe even a couple of months until it's really fully healed.
Yeah, I mean, the UV energy can break down the healing process, period. It causes it to be dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. So, sun exposure of any scar is probably the worst thing you can do to a scar of all things.
Yeah.
So.
And even when you are, thinking towards summer, let's say you were smart and you had your tummy tuck in December or January and you are already partially into your recovery, you want to make sure that you're putting sunscreen on your scars, even under swimsuits. And people tend to forget about that. They think their sunsuit or
I remember when you first told
coverage.
this to a patient, I remember thinking to myself, she's still full of it. And then I looked it up. I'm like, wow, it does really go through clothing.
Yeah.
That's not, what's the clothing that is treated with some UV protection?
The UV protection clothing.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to get your swimsuit at REI to get.
Yeah, and even that is not perfect.
You don't think Prada puts its UV protection on its dresses? Okay.
Yeah, there are some great options for specific types of fabrics, and it's not even what they're treated with. It's more the way they reflect the sun rays off of them. So it's the same way that sunscreen does. It bounces those rays kind of back off of you, whether it's a physical or chemical block. So some of that there is some protection from clothing or windows or whatever. However, when your scar is fresh and for that first year, even if you're sitting inside in your house, the light is getting in through your windows, your non-UVB treated windows. So keeping sunscreen on all the time once you're cleared is absolutely my recommendation.
Just do what I do every morning with my facial creams that Amy gets me.
That have sunscreen in them.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, touche, Nils. Does it smell like
a little
oranges
secret
to
present
you?
for the listeners of old. Yeah.
All right, Doctor, I'm gonna let you take this one.
One of my favorite surgeries, face and neck lifts. So
we do a lot of them in the winter.
Oh, tons.
Yes.
Tons. Yeah. And then the summertime, it's so weird. We have seasonal surgeries. It's very funny. Face and neck lifts are transformative. They're awesome. They're rejuvenating. They're great for having that summer body. Also, especially if your body is in good shape, you feel like your face and neck doesn't represent that. You're definitely going to have swelling afterwards, which we've talked about, and that swelling can last for months. 4 weeks is like a good time where you can feel like you can go out and feel not self-aware. But bruising is a big problem. And then also, Amy put on here, which is a really good point, which I was going to say anyways, is your hair. You cannot dye your hair. There's certain hairstyles you can't do. You're not going to want to put it back in a ponytail right away. And so there's going to be some limitations. And that's going to affect what you do in the summertime, especially if you live in a temperate area.
Yeah. And the not being able to dye your hair is a really good one. People ask that all the time. Like the week after surgery, well, can I get my hair dyed next week? I have an appointment to get my hair dyed. I'm like, no, you cannot. You cannot get your hair dyed for another month. So those are important things to think about.
Which I didn't really realize how hair dyeing is a big thing.
It is a really
People
big thing.
get very angst-ridden about not being able to dye their hair.
Well, especially if you have some social event coming up. And that's kind of where we've been going with all of these things. These are surgeries that you might do to get looking the way you'd like to look for a number of things. Summer or an event. Face and neck lifts are something that I think people usually think has a little more downtime. So people do tend to think about them a little bit more in advance of their event. However, it might even be longer than you think. For people, I tell them if they have like a very important, like if they're going to be on television or they're being interviewed for an event where the photography is really intense, 3 months would be my preference. We do have patients. We had a patient who had a facelift and didn't realize that her assistant had rescheduled a photo shoot for like 6 days after her surgery. She still had stitches in place. And yes, makeup artists and retouching and those things can do a lot to cover bruising.
Just not forget about the surgeon who did the surgery.
Well, I'm saying to cover things like bruising, you can't stop a patient from bruising or being swollen.
Right.
So, yes, your surgery looks awesome. However, most people, several days out from surgery don't really want to have their
okay.
picture taken. So
I'm with you.
yeah. So these are things that I think more than anything else we do. I mean, a lot of the things we do, if you want to hear about things to do in the summer, we have an ancient episode that you'll have to find on audio only, where we talk about things that are ideal for summer. But these are really 4 key areas that if you are at all considering them, now is the time. February is slipping away from us. Like, get your consult in and get your surgery done, preferably before the end of April, so you can be really ready for 6 weeks later for pool, for fun stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So my final slide here, we're going to talk about why winter recovery rocks. Like, why is recovering in the winter awesome for really anything, but especially for these things? Dr. Martin, you go first.
Well, it's just first and foremost, I feel like winter is so good for things like this. You wear like baggy clothing. You're already staying home. I just love. I don't know. I guess if you don't live in a snowy area, but in Colorado, when it snows, you can stay in, Netflix and chill. Eat
No chill. You're recovering from surgery.
That's true. Eat your
Talk
dinner
to me
on the
before
couch.
you start chilling.
TV dinner. But to that point, winter is more clothes. It covers you up. It camouflages everything. And then even if you're wearing hats, if you had a facelift, scarves, hats that go over your ears, long pants, baggy shorts. And, a lot of these surgeries will have drains, and those drains have to be put somewhere. If you're walking around with really skimpy shorts and a t-shirt, you're not going to be able to hide a drain sticking out of your body, wherever that is. And I think a lot of people feel obviously more comfortable if they're able to cover things up, and that does help recovery. Actually, I know that
gets you back to work more quickly.
Yeah, you're more likely to go outside. You're more likely to walk around.
Yep.
That quickens recovery. There's a big part of recovery that's mental, and I think this does help it along. So you don't feel like you're just standing out in the crowd.
Yeah, and you don't have to be self-conscious about it, because there are really ways to hide it that you don't have to lie about. I think that's where people end up giving themselves a lot of stress in recovery when they're like, oh my gosh, well, if I'm wearing pants, like, what is somebody going to think about me when it's 90 degrees outside? I'm like, well, wear a skirt, wear a long skirt, but, or a scarf, is a great way to kind of hide the, the swelling or bruising from not just a facelift, but even from breast implants, those are really easy things to wear in the winter.
Neck liposuction. There's so many different things.
There's great ways to hide these in the winter. And also, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but the cooler temperatures make for a less sweaty recovery, which may sound gross to a lot of people. But if you had a brachioplasty, you can't wear deodorant. People get really, self-conscious about that. Or if you have drains in from your tummy tuck and you haven't had a real shower in 10 days, those are things that can make a person feel very self-conscious, where if it's, freezing outside, you're not sweating, literally, you're not sweating it. So it definitely makes your recovery a little less stressful and a little easier. And it's better for areas where there's skin-on-skin contact, like a thigh lift or, again, a brachioplasty, where you've got skin touching skin. If it's also hot and sweaty there.
Macerate it. Mm-hmm. It's not a good situation.
Yeah.
Hey, what was our recovery episode that we really liked? I can't remember which one. There was recovery tips or recovery
2.0.
Yeah, recovery 2.0.
The one with the cute
Yeah,
doggy.
that was a really good episode.
Yeah, that's
I
really
rewatched
good
that
one.
recently, and it was really good.
Yeah, that's a good one. We also, on our thigh lift episode, the very first thigh lift episode, where I put in the special considerations slide for the first time, and Sarah was like, "What does this mean?" I'm like, "Well, thigh lifts have some special considerations." So if you're considering one of those surgeries, know that those special considerations might be things like you have to keep this area very dry and aired out, and if
Yeah.
it's 90 degrees and again super humid, it's going to be hard to do
Very hard to do.
when your legs are touching. I'm going to let you take this one because it's your favorite.
Oh, yes. Because I have so many social activities, Amy, that I do all the time. But in the winter, primarily, you have lesser social activities, one of them which is swimming, which Amy has an addiction to. She talks about it every day with me. And then also the things that are done outside, obviously in the summertime. So you're more inside, you're avoiding sun exposure. So
yeah, just built-in limited sun exposure. And I also think that there is especially this time of year where it's a little bit easier. I talk to patients a lot about, oh my gosh, what should I tell someone about why I'm not doing XYZ activity? This time of year, after you've had so many back-to-back holidays, it's kind of easy to say, I'm just kind of tapped out socially. We're just kind of, staying in. It's such a great
is it a problem when you do that all year round?
Well, then it is. Yeah. You got to get out there and do things.
Oh, really?
With people
That's
sometimes.
called COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll try
It
to
really
forget
wasn't
those
that
4
bad
years.
for my wife and I.
Yeah.
Nothing really changed.
No. My final reason on the list, which is something that, impacts recovery a lot, is your kids are in school.
Yeah.
So having just those times during the day where you can have some peace to yourself, your kids are in activities, you don't have to worry about running them around all summer to sports, to the pool. I mean, yes, they have activities when they're in school, but it's a little bit easier also to get like the help of maybe other parents because they're doing the same thing with their kids. The schedule is the same versus trying to get another parent to help you when their kids' schedules might be very, very different because they go to different schools or they, have different activities. So kids are in school is a big one. And that's, in Colorado, our summers, even in Denver, our summers are a pretty short season. So people do tend to want to do surgery, like before their kids get out of school and or after they've gone back into school. So if you are thinking in your mind like, well, I've missed my opportunity for summer, perhaps, or you're listening to this in April and you're like, well, that's a little late. I got to just love my body. Go back and listen to my episode about your best body ever. And start thinking about doing surgery in the fall. The same thing happens with plastic surgeons as far as scheduling goes that happens right now. As soon as kids go back in school, people call like September 1st, like, my kids are back in school. I want to have surgery this month. And I'm like,
that doesn't work.
We are booking consults in December.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I can't do that. Like, of course not.
Yeah.
So all these things kind of go in reverse for the other edge of the season.
Yeah, because maybe you don't have enough time for summer body this year, but we can get the calendar year next year.
Yes.
So,
or if winter is your thing, and you ski every day, if you're a, 150 plus day a year skier, well, you got to have your surgery and be recovered by opening day. So you better think about having surgery in like maybe July or August.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Martin. I think we covered that well. What would you like to summarize summer bodies?
Well, I think we're all in the same boat. Sometimes we get, we hibernate during the winter. We're maybe falling off our resolutions, but there are answers. And obviously, Amy and I promote nutritional changes and exercise changes, lifestyle changes first, but surgeries are a big part of that. And especially if there are things that can't be changed with the other things. You can't
exercise facial aging.
Right.
I wish you could.
Actually, people that exercise a lot in their middle age actually don't look great.
Especially
sometimes.
Runners.
Yeah.
It's really hard on your skin.
So, sometimes that can really work against you, even if you're really healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will give one other just a random Amy tip at this point. Something I do in the winter, which might seem disordered to some people, is when I go to the gym, because the gym is always really warm. And I don't know, sometimes they have the heat just like blasting the gym. I will wear shorts and tank tops to the gym more in the winter than in the summer, because in the summer they got the air conditioning going, it's cold. And just like seeing your body, I think just kind of helps you get more used to it. Then when the first time you put on a swimsuit in May, you're not like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? Like you're seeing it every day. And I'm not saying you see it and you're like shaming yourself for wanting to change it. It's more just, I think we get used to being covered.
Yeah.
And then you uncover and you're
That's
like,
a really good point. That is actually a really good point.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, because we are so covered. And even though you look in the mirror, you're not really looking at yourself. Whereas in the summertime, you can actually see your arms, you can see your legs, right? Maybe see your neck more.
And you see that it's not that bad. You get these women who go try on swimsuits a week before their vacation. They're like, this is hideous. I'm like, if you're seeing yourself in the mirror every single day, like in the clothes you might be wearing on a vacation, it makes it a lot smoother transition.
It's like for phobias where they do exposure therapy.
Yeah, that's my
what you need to
exposure
do for your body.
Oh, I'm pale. That is the one thing when I go to the gym sometimes I'm like, oof.
Between you and me, I don't know who's more pale.
Oh, I am more pale.
Yeah.
This time of year, it gets pretty rough.
All right, so before we go, can we all predict what tattoo Nils is going to get?
Oh, I already know, so I can't predict on this.
I mean, is it Walter White? Is like Heisenberg in his hat?
That would be a good one.
That would be good. Yeah.
The little drawing of him.
Yeah.
That'd be not that hard.
It's not Heisenberg. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so if you're listening and you'd like to weigh in on what you think Nils might get as a tattoo, leave us a comment.
And after I get, I'll flash up a picture of it.
There you go.
That's
Once
good.
it's healed a little bit.
Right. Yeah. That's right. See, once it's healed, you do the reveal.
You got to have your tattoo body.
You know, all like bloody and gross.
I'm sure our audience is riveted.
Yes. We have a way of doing that. So if you've made it this far in the podcast, we really do appreciate everyone listening. And just know that I think your best summer body is the one you're living in right now. But it doesn't mean you can't still want to change it, because I'm all on board with that too.
I think we start with body positivity and we go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surgery is body positive.
Yeah.
Definitely leave us a comment about Nils' tattoo. If you would like to leave us a voicemail or send me a text, you can do that at 303
in here. There we go.
630-9038. I do love text and voicemails and comments, and I really appreciate everybody listening. So remember, you can find us on all social media
Are you checking the voicemail now? Are we checking the voicemail?
It is attached back to my Google phone.
Nice.
Yep. We're on all social media at Jason Martin MD and at Beauty and the Surgeon Podcast. You can find us on all social media.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next time.
I'm going to go work out for like 3 days straight to get ready for summer.
There you go.
All right.